Imagine waking up one morning. You open your window, but the familiar morning silence is gone. Only the rhythmic echo of boots from the guard towers was heard. The sound of neighborhood children is absent. When the Second World War ended, Germany was on its knees. Nazism had been defeated, but peace had not yet arrived. The victors of the war divided Germany into four parts: America, Great Britain, France, and the Soviet Union. Berlin was divided in the same way, into four sectors, but Berlin was the heart of the country. And now this heart was beating with two different rhythms. In 1949, two Germanys were born: West Germany, the Federal Republic; East Germany, the Democratic Republic. The names were similar, but the systems were completely opposite. West Germany declared itself for freedom and capitalism. East Germany for equality and socialism. Berlin turned into an island squeezed between these two systems. West Berlin was a small showcase of freedom located deep inside East Germany, and this showcase was attracting the youth of the East. In the 1950s, hundreds of thousands of people fled from the East to the West. Doctors, engineers, teachers. East Germany was bleeding its manpower. And finally, the Soviets and the East German government made a radical decision. August 13, 1961. At midnight, soldiers descended onto the streets of Berlin. Barbed wire was strung, roads were closed. When morning came, people found themselves on the wrong side of the wall. That wall stretched for 155 kilometers. Its height was 3.6 meters. Two walls created an area called the Death Strip. Mines, automatic weapons, guard towers. The wall did not stay static. Over the years, barbed wire gave way to what was called the fourth generation, the most ruthless form. These smooth concrete panels were topped with a cylindrical pipe to make it impossible to grip. The more human hope grew, the higher the concrete rose. Those who tried to escape were shot, and over the years, approximately 200 people lost their lives trying to cross the Berlin Wall. Some were hit by bullets, some died on electric fences, and some suffocated in tunnels. But despite this, people never gave up on trying to escape. One man stole an armored vehicle to reunite with his lover. One family crossed with cables. Some dug tunnels, others ascended to the sky with hot air balloons. Some succeeded, some were silenced forever. Only months after the wall's construction, history held its breath at Checkpoint Charlie. Soviet and American tanks waited for 16 hours, only a few meters apart. This gray mass of concrete gave the first sign of how close it brought the world to World War III. The Berlin Wall was not only built with concrete and steel. Every brick held a separation, every crack a tear. Life in the East was under surveillance. The Stasi, the secret police, were everywhere. Historians estimate that 1 out of every 6.5 East German citizens worked directly or indirectly for the Stasi. Neighbors informed on each other, phones were tapped, and letters were opened. In the West, there was a completely different world. Rock music, colorful advertisements, a free press, and television. People on the Eastern side could only see this life through the Western television they secretly watched. And this difference made people on both sides of the wall feel it more and more each day. It was hope for one side and despair for the other. Freedom for one side and control for the other. Children grew up in the shadow of the wall. Some never saw the other side in their lifetime. Families were divided, loves were left incomplete. Some could only be as close as a phone line or a mail slot for the rest of their lives. The wall had separated families, but the West German government never gave up. Humanitarian negotiations were held with the East for visitor permits. Furthermore, over the years, West Germany bought the freedom of thousands of political prisoners from the East through Freikauf, buying freedom. This was a silent testament to the value placed on human life behind the wall. Lives were split in two. In the 1980s, East Germany had collapsed economically. The people were hopeless. The system was stagnant. Just then, a voice rose on the world stage. On June 12, 1987, U.S. President Ronald Reagan delivered a historic speech in front of the Brandenburg Gate in West Berlin. Reagan made that call while looking at the wall, which stood right behind the Brandenburg Gate, the face of the West. The gate stood like a monument in front of that shameful concrete that blocked the road to freedom. And he uttered the sentence that echoed throughout the world. "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall." This phrase was not just a call. It was a challenge against the symbol of the Cold War. That day, the sound of freedom echoed in the sky of Berlin. In the autumn of 1989, protests began in East Germany. Thousands of people in the streets of Leipzig were chanting, "Wir sind das Volk," we are the people. More people took to the streets every week. Fear had given way to courage. In the Soviet Union, Mikhail Gorbachev's reforms of glasnost, openness, and perestroika, restructuring, were blowing like the wind. Regimes were falling like dominoes in Eastern Europe, Poland, Hungary, Czechoslovakia, and it was Germany's turn. The East German government backed down instead of increasing the pressure. On the night of November 9th, 1989, an event that changed the course of history took place. A government spokesperson accidentally announced on live television that the borders were opened immediately. The news spread like wildfire. People rushed to the wall. The soldiers did not shoot, for they too were under the shock and pressure of that moment, just like the people. Their commanders sensed that the mission of this wall they had defended for years was now complete. That night, hammers came down. Thousands of Berliners, with the hammers and chisels they brought with them, tore off the first pieces of this concrete monument. They would be called Mauerpächter, wallpeckers. Concrete was broken, people hugged each other, songs were sung, tears were shed. The Berlin Wall, it fell. The fall of the wall was not just the collapse of concrete, it was the rebirth of a nation. When the calendars showed October 3rd, 1990, East and West Germany officially reunited, Berlin was declared the capital once again. A divided country gathered again under one flag. That day, not only Germany but the whole world breathed a sigh of relief. An era had ended. The symbol of the Cold War was gone. Berlin had once again become one city. Today, the remaining pieces of the Berlin Wall have turned into art pieces covered in graffiti. Some parts are displayed in museums, and some stand in cities all over the world. New York, London, Seoul. Every piece carries the same message. No wall lasts forever. The Berlin Wall symbolizes the end of an era and humanity's hope for reunification. Those gray concrete blocks are now adorned with the colors of freedom. Now I ask you, if you had been in Berlin that day, what would you have done? Would you have tried to escape? Would you have waited? Maybe you would have grabbed a hammer and struck the first blow. Maybe you would have sung a song, hoping it would reach the other side of the wall. Because sometimes, to tear down a wall, you need not just courage, but a story. And this is that story.
Weg! Mauer weg! Wollt ihr denn dann alle hin? Um 20 Uhr! Mauer weg! Mauer weg! Mauer